Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Pash On Podcast. Let's get started with your host, Brian Pash.
Hi, this is Brian Pash, and welcome to another exciting podcast interview. On today's show, we're going to tackle one of the hottest topics of discussion going on in the automotive dealership community. It was a hot topic at NADA. Momentum is building is how dealers can do more with their first-party data. How can they create a better customer experience, improve loyalty, and really have complete lifecycle management in their control with full transparency. So, I had to bring in one of the leaders in this charge, John Clavadetscher, president of Outsell. John, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you, Brian. It is an honor to be here. And listen, before I begin, and I can't wait to be part of your team at DMSC at the beginning of June. What a great way to start June is spending time with you and some of our best dealer partners, dealer friends. But before we just jump in, I just want to thank you because you've always been there for the dealer community. You've always been there for so many in terms of helping people evolve. You've been there for me. And so just thank you for your passion for the trade. I think we're coming up on me knowing you for a little over 20 years. So I just want to thank you again for all that you've done for me, but importantly for so many of our dealer friends and the folks in this community. So thank you.
Thank you, John. And, I've said this a few times, but maybe not on a podcast, but it was your nudging that really got me into understanding the customer data platforms and first-party data activation. After you left Cars.com, you had some time in the consumer packaged goods industry, and you really had full exposure to what the largest retail brands were doing as far as customer data and understanding the customer and marketing and tailoring customer experiences. And I remember the call. You're like, hey, Brian, you should really look into this. And I'm like, oh, one more thing to learn. And but as I dug in, I'm like, oh, I get it now. And so when you came back into automotive as president of Outsell, it made complete sense that what you were inspired with in consumer packaged goods, you wanted to bring into automotive, and Outsell was an early leader. They had a lot of those pieces in place, but since you've taken over, the company has really taken on new direction. So let's dive in. If you run into a dealer in an elevator and you got 30 seconds before they get off that next floor, what would you tell dealers that Outsell does to help their business?
Well, the first thing, Brian, is that, so you're right. I mean, Outsell's been a company that's been around for a while. We just celebrated a couple months ago our 20th year anniversary, and it's an amazing group of talented professionals and associates, and so it's been fun to be part of this team and then to partner with our dealers as we continue to grow and learn. So it's been fun to be part of that group environment and team environment. As it relates to if I were to run into a dealer on an elevator, the first thing I'd tell the dealer is that it's never been a better time to be a dealer in the automotive space. And I know at the end of the day, Brian, you talk to hundreds of dealers and you hear the challenges, and you're going to say, well, wait a minute, all the interest rates or maybe demand or inventory, but there's never been a better time. And when I sit back and think about it, and I know you'll share absolutely my belief on that on the first point, which is, first off, the trade and the dealers associated have never been better, more talented, more sophisticated. And this group of individual leading dealers have such a great passion for helping customers and do a great job of helping the community, developing associates and employees. And they are just hallmarks and bellwethers of the communities that they service and support. So in and of itself, it's never been a better time because of the fact that dealerships have never been better. But I'd also say that it's also never better because the product's never been better. Now, I know there's some challenges in EV. I'm not trying to get into that, but generally speaking, I remember my first car, and I'm sure you remember yours. The product has never been better. And the last thing is that you got the better products, you got amazing dealers. We also have, to me, what I would view as an awakening for software, right? And I know that this gets into what we're talking about, but at the end of the day, when you think about what software does, it just takes the mind-numbing, soul-crushing, mundane tasks of business or in life, and it frees people up from those mind-numbing, soul-crushing tasks to allow them to do what they do best. And we
Correct.
think about the dealers, what the dealers, or let's just use retail for a second. What retailers do best, auto or non-auto, is that they are there to help with the customers, guide them through their transaction, and do it in a professional and prompt and efficient way. And that software is the backbone that allows it. Now, I do know that, oftentimes, Brian, some have said that software in automotive is a four-letter word. But the great awakening within the automotive space is that software is no longer a four-letter word, because
That's right.
we're learning about what are the best practices outside of automotive, right? And so, at the end of the day, if someone were to say, what does Outsell do? What I would say is Outsell does three things in a world-class way. We help dealers, their marketing, and their teams become more efficient and more effective.
Okay.
Help dealers retain their customers, especially know and retain their best customers. And then lastly, what we do is when you do those two things really well, you maximize gross profit. And you
Come
think
on.
about,
Now, those are three things, John, that dealers say, that's what I want, especially number three. And one of the things that, when I wrote my first research paper and published it, I had some haters out there. Here were the haters. CDP is the next Pash, shiny object. And, I look back and it's like, well, why were people so negative? And it's because they didn't understand. I say today that dealers have historically looked at their DMS and CRM, two pieces of software, as fundamental to running their business. I say progressive dealers are learning that they need a third piece. They need a piece of software designed to unify their customer data, enrich it with ongoing signals based on how consumers react, call, engage, purchase, and then streamline marketing and communications, two very different things. And, when people dig in, and you and I've talked about this, how dirty the DMS data is in its raw state, how many duplicates are in a dealer's data set, the fact that on average, about 40% of the vehicles in a dealer's DMS are no longer owned by the person who transacted with the dealer. When you start adding this all up, this is not a shiny object. This is what world-class businesses, even smaller than auto dealers, use to create relevant communications. And I think, in a sense, Mike Wethington, founder of Outsell, was ahead of his time. And, there was a few other companies early on trying to develop lifecycle marketing at tier 3, but Mike also saw the need, as you said, those mind-numbing tests of using machine learning, now enhanced with AI models, to know the right message at the right time through the right channel. You mentioned that you feel it's a great awakening. I feel that in my heart because my phone's ringing with dealer groups looking for help. But what was the trigger, John? What do you think? It surely wasn't my research report, because I only touch a small piece of the hundreds of thousands of people who are in automotive. But what triggered it?
Yeah. I mean, first off, you're right. Our founder, CEO, Mike Wethington, really was at the head of the curve in terms of understanding this. And in fact, as we talk about, terms like machine learning or AI or generative AI, all that is software. And so we can get into the nuances. And I know you will at DMSC and some of the differences, but it's a software, but it's
Yep.
software to help the mind-numbing, soul-crushing tasks to provide a better customer experience. And like particularly AI, a lot of that was the natural language processing. And
Yep.
Mike was just earlier on about natural language and understanding the predictive next steps. And of course, ChatGPT, which is obviously a lot of our audiences has participated in that, or Bard or Anthropic or any of the AI products. They are just really great natural language processing, predictive understanding of what to say and sort of when to say it too. So those are great software. But the awakening piece, I think, comes from the fact that, listen, automotive has been a leader in so many aspects of business and American business. And yet, like a leader, sometimes that you fall behind in a few things.
Yeah.
And if you look outside of auto, this concept of like auto's not alone. Every industry has their legacy DMS or POS system. Every retailer has their legacy CRM. And so we got to get away from the mindset of just going back to these legacy systems that have massive tech debt and saying, fix it, fix it, fix it. Well, let's go to
Right.
the newer one that's promising us. But what this in the last 10 years, even the last 5 years, there's this layer on top of it that says, listen, we're not here to debate how good or lack thereof is that sort of initial layer of software. Let's then have this initial layer that then extracts that, because that first party data of who your customers are from your DMS and your CRM, understanding and creating a golden record. And then, as you articulately stated, delivering the right message to the right person, the right time, the right medium. All that then ensures that you can be super effective. Retailers outside of auto know that if you can communicate and engage in a personalized message with your customers, you can improve your overall spend of your best customers or your customers anywhere from 5 to 25 times.
Mm,
Think about it. And so when you have that, and you're able to do that, then you could see a massive increase in terms of the effectiveness of American business or businesses that use the software. And a lot of leading dealerships are doing that. You're actually seeing like a lot of a few publicly traded CEO of automotive dealerships are now saying, actually one's done it 2 quarters in a row, of talking about software, talking about
yep.
AI, talking about the efficiencies. And so it's really catching hold. So that's number one. Number two is this concept of who owns the customer and how
Come on.
valuable my data is. And yet still to this day, we hear about buy sells where, the audience is like, the person will sell the dealership and they'll maintain sort of their audience records because they understand the value of it, but the buyer may not. And I will,
Right.
this, it's all about your audience and understanding how to best work, communicate, and manage those customers. So I think those two things are working combined. But at the end of the day, software, particularly when you're talking about your known customers, is doing those three things really well. We talked about earlier in terms of making the teams more efficient and effective, improving overall customer retention, and then driving gross profit. One sort of just quick anecdote, and I know
Sure.
I get so excited. I know you get excited about this, but I'm going to nerd out for a second here. But
Go
like
ahead.
GDP growth has like two core functions of growth. You either have within a country, you either have population growth or you have efficiency growth. That's it.
Right.
And so, yes, we have population growth in the United States, but what the United States is the best at is software. We are the home of software. Every leading AI company is American-based company. It's not they're global, yes, but we are
Yeah.
jumping into it. Last quarter, earnings season, as we're recording this, was maybe a week or so ago. Meta, Alphabet, Google, Amazon, they announced that they invested $30 billion of incremental CapEx, $30 billion into more software that is now AI related,
Right.
because they realize that when you do that, you make the entire enterprise more efficient. One
Yeah.
last thing, and then I promise I'll kind of pipe down. But just to kind of prove this point out, is that the CEO of Chipotle about 10 days ago comes out and says, we use software to not only automate sort of when the customer comes in, but in terms of like how to prepare the burritos. And we can go from making 115 burritos per hour to 122 burritos per hour. And their stock jumped 12 percentage points in one day.
Well,
And it's software that does it.
yeah, and what I'm trying to communicate to dealers is they've been lazy with their first party data. It's data at rest, it's not living. So DMS sits and ages. CRM is just a kind of a cesspool of changing data. There's no data hygiene practice, there's no value. And what they've been doing effectively is relying on other people to manage their most important asset, their customer data. And so what I'm excited for about DMSC is we're bringing together the core components of a conversation that dealers need to have is, of course, what is a CDP? And why is data hygiene so important? And why the unification of data opens up new revenue opportunities for personalization that is in communication and on the website, and how marketing automation can save dealers time. And when it's all pulled together, how it elevates customer experience. I've been demonstrating to my clients new revenue opportunities. Even today on LinkedIn, I published an article which talked about when you have identity resolution on your website and you've connected all your retail tools, your trade tools, your DR tools, your service scheduler, your finance, your credit, you can do abandoned shopping cart marketing and communication, which is everywhere outside of automotive, but no one has done it inside. When your existing customers are on your website, existing customers, and don't fill out a form or call you, but they're using your trade tool or your service schedule and don't complete it, so you get a lead. I mean, John, these are valuable customers. And one of the things you told me is, Brian, dealers have lots of choices on where to spend their money, but their first marketing dollar should be with their existing customers. And this is why Outsell has really been focused on this life cycle marketing. And for dealers who are not sure about all the levels of what you do, we're talking about sales and service, right, John? Being able to take their shopping signals from the dealer's website, the data from their DMS and CRM, and to use your modeling to present to them the right offers that are OEM compliant with the current lease specials or incentives, or supporting the OEM service packages and pricings the dealers want to set, right? We're talking about one platform to truly nurture those existing clients. Am I getting that right?
You're absolutely right, Brian. In fact, you stated it a couple of DMSCs ago that, when a dealer says, well, I don't want to do a CDP, you point back that they probably have 8 CDPs. The challenge is that they're not unified. The challenge
Right.
is that it's sort of lone soldiers going off to fight, and then you never understand what the outcome is. And what we offer our 2,000 strong dealer partners is the ability to then, through sales, through service, through equity, through recalls, to have one view of the customer, not only sort of what to send, but also importantly, what not to send. And then historically, the software that dealers use, what I would call are sort of systems of record, and they're not an engagement platform. And the
That's right.
bar continues to be set by email or other providers that say it has to be relevant, it has to be personable, it has to be open. And so if you don't have that as part of your discipline, as part of your software tools, then you're at an inherent disadvantage, because a message that is never seen, doesn't have its merit. One last thing, and I agree with you on identity resolution. It is amazing. Again, going back to it's 5 to 25 times more efficient and effective to market to your current customers. Yet most dealerships will say, of the 100 people that come to my website, I only know the 3 or 4 that actually completely filled out a lead form. Yet the other 97, we are finding about half of them are current customers. Why wouldn't you want to know who those folks are? And we've partnered, and I know you've challenged us in the industry to partner with other software companies. So we've
That's
partnered
right.
with Four Eyes, and they've done a great
Right.
job of providing our identity resolution. And so in this situation, we roll out this product at NADA, which is just hotter. It's the hottest thing since sliced bread. And what it does is that it understands the known customer. It then, when the known customer, Brian Pash, comes back and you're looking for your Audi A8, we are able, but you don't fill out a form, we'll then send you out an email that same day, customizing that to your
Come on.
experiences on the website. And then if you don't open that email within 24 hours, we will send you, Brian Pash, one direct mail piece that then is sent within 24 hours. Most direct mail is batched once a month, and it's
Yep.
very generic. So all this is delivering personal messages. And again, as you stated, this is exactly the expectations that customers have. And it's exactly the type of software that has been powering the results and the effectiveness of leading retailers, whether you're selling high-end diamonds, whether you're selling high-end real estate, whether
Yep.
you're going into Walmart or Walgreens to buy prescription drugs and or food staples. It's that same discipline, the same software that we're bringing back to auto, which is why it has never been a better time to be a dealer in America.
John, I want to share a little insider story. I think it's safe to share it, but 2 years ago, you invited me to your dealer innovation board, like a dealer advisory board. It was associated with NADA, if I remember correctly,
That's
2 years ago. And you had some of the top dealers there, and Gary Marcotte was there, who heads up all your technology,
Yep.
and you were there, and we were talking, and you said to me, Brian, what are we missing? And I said, we need to have more data integration points to get the phone calls and the website activity. This was 2 years ago. And there were some questions on, the value of each of these additional inputs because you're already bringing in data from the CRM and the DMS. Well, what I noticed, it wasn't ego. It was like, Brian, you make a good point, and we're going to work towards that today. You're ingesting these important signals. And as I mentioned today, John, in my article, if somebody comes to the website and you're using the website data and you're recognizing when existing customers, this is gold. 3%, you use the right number. On average, 3% of all traffic to a dealer's website converts into a lead form. 97% stay anonymous. And in that 97% are a lot of customers that are coming for service or sales. And when you can know when your existing customers on the website, that gives you a competitive advantage for retention. Now, my point was today, and this is where this collaboration comes in. Outsell doesn't control the service scheduler, and Outsell doesn't, control the digital retailing tools. And as an industry, and this is like a cry for help, but we created the Automotive Standards Council to create interoperability, and I'm so happy that many tools now support consistent events across the customer journey inside these tools. But we have a little work to do, John, right? Because the identity resolution pixel oftentimes in an iframe isn't ingested so that we can see where people left off. And that's why I wrote the article today, because as I'm working on a large CDP project, what I'm finding is that the request from trade tools or DR tools or service schedulers, hey, would you bring in the identity resolution pixel inside of your iframe? And so when you're sending all the events, I know where the consumer stops so I can get the context for a great offer. And, outside of automotive, this is table stakes. What you left in the cart, what you were shopping for, what you were interested in to present relevant offers. And I just want to tell dealers, Outsell is a company that wants more opportunities to give you the context to provide better targeting, better timing. And I think it's a team effort, John, right? Because sometimes as a technology platform, the dealer has to get involved and say, man, you got to work with my Outsell platform because we love what it's doing, but you're holding me back. And I'm hoping that my goal for the next year is to break down these barriers with all these iframe tools so that identity can be passed and you can see inside of all these tools where consumers stop.
Yeah, I mean, listen, thank you for pushing the industry. I know at the end of the day, one of the other things that you and the dealers actually, we always are trying to learn from experts and our dealer partners. And I think actually that same innovation meeting, the dealer said, listen, direct all traffic to our websites. At the time, we had a little bit different strategy based on previous thinking, and
Yes.
we've done that. And now what we find, in addition to being able to deliver the right message, right time, right place, is that almost universally, we're in the top 4 in terms of total traffic, number 1 in terms of high quality traffic, and number 1 in terms of non-paid traffic. And you're doing that when you can deliver those messages. But again, it's driving traffic to the dealership's front door, digital front door, and that's important. But you're right, we still, as an industry, the industry needs to come together and continue to make it easier for dealerships to retail. I know we're also pushing forward as well too. So thank you for the evangelism there. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm just excited that dealers are waking up. I just love the term data at rest. If dealers really understood how at rest, how disconnected their data is from everyday phone calls, everyday text, everyday chats, everyday website visits, if they could just catch fire, that they need a platform in addition to their DMS and their CRM, which were never meant for marketing, never meant for personalization, to a platform. You happen to use the term a customer engagement platform, right? That you can bring these signals together and then let the machine figure out timing and relevance and context to all their actions to take what we would call, right, the next best action to get them into service or to get them in to purchase a car or to get them to trade their car, whatever the business need is. And this is why I'm so excited when dealers really realize, wow, no wonder why I've been scratching my head. No wonder why my retention has not been in my control, because you never had the tools to do it. And if everyone's working off the same playbook, and I want to close on this one thing, John, because I think some people also get the wrong impression. Outsell will operate different marketing campaigns for dealers as a turnkey platform. But the audiences that dealers can create through the Outsell tool can also be pushed into campaigns that they create themselves. So is it a fair thing to say Outsell is not a closed CDP MAP, but really automates as much as the dealers want, but still is a tool that can push audiences into other campaigns and other messaging that are currently not something in the platform. Am I getting that right?
Absolutely, Brian. We do what we do best. It's the dealership's data. We will actually partner with other players if you have opportunities and other CDPs that then will give us the data. We're purpose built for being able to support that. We want to make sure that we're not closed loop. We've learned from our dealer community as well as leaders like you that's pushed us in this direction. And so again, outside of auto, it's very common to have software to software, and that's the leader. That's the reason why we're very excited to be able to offer our solutions and then take in other data or signals from other CDPs or other providers.
Right. Our company has an agency division, PCG Digital. And here's what I told them. I said, look, our job as an agency is not to create a CDP. Our job as an agency is to let dealers pick the technology platform that they want to use. And then let's enhance it with things that the platform doesn't do, and perfect example is Outsell's lifecycle management runs efficiently and has amazing results. But if our agency wanted to, hey, let's take one of those audience and create a special offer or some interesting, enticing things. The thing I like about the customers who have Outsell is like, no problem. Let's create that audience, push it into the dealer's Google account or Meta Business Manager. And now we have great audience data, the same playbook with the same data hygiene pushing into custom campaigns. And I think dealers need to get in their mind that you want to look for platforms that are open so that the things that they do best, let them do. And the things that are new, innovative, or testing, make sure they have the ability to move these audiences of customers at different points in their shopping or ownership journey into other campaigns. John, I want to thank Outsell for being a supporter of dealer education, a supporter of DMSC. You've been to our show many times. You know the things we're going to be talking about. What are you most excited about going down to Austin and talking to dealers about? I mean, we've talked a lot, but we got some smart dealers coming down there, demanding dealers, people who are looking to, well, have that next step up in profitability.
Yeah, what I would say is a couple of things. One is that there's always that core group, and that core group of dealers continue to run at an ever fast pace. And so I learned so much, and I know everyone learns from those dealers. The other thing I've learned is that every time I go down, there are more of those dealers that are showing up. And so they bring different perspectives, different insights. And again, just as you mentioned earlier, the more you can understand and be receptive to the changes and the demands and the needs of a very diverse group, the better off you're going to be. So I look forward to learning. I look forward to continue to meet new friends and rekindle relationships with older ones, and continue to learn from them and continue to help the industry be a small part of the industry as it continues to grow.
Well, John, I'm excited for the future of Outsell because you've built a platform that's open. This is important. That can interface with other technologies. We're working on a project together where your technology platform is actually the marketing automation piece of a very large dealer group's consumer vision for customer experience. And for other dealers, you are their turnkey platform. But either way, dealers can integrate the partners that they've selected into this beautiful customer engagement platform. So I think you have a great future because of the openness that you have that could allow additional future data signals to come in, better activation, website personalization, which, is, I think, a next step of when you have this great golden record of each consumer. For the dealers who are listening in today, if this is the first time you've listened into one of our podcasts, you should know that there's hundreds of interviews with industry leaders like John, and dealers and technology leaders that are looking to elevate automotive retail. So just search for the Brian Pash podcast on your favorite podcast platform. You should also know that this is part of a podcast series called The Road to DMSC. So if you go to digitalmarketingstrategies.org, the conference website, you'll see all of the podcasts for the people who are supporting dealer education who will be there. And that will help you to get familiar with all the companies that are going to be there so you can have more robust conversations. John, if dealers can't make DMSC but would like to get a demo of Outsell, what's the best way to do that?
Yeah, just visit outsell.com and connect with us, or you can reach out to me, John J. Clavadetscher, long last name, but it's Clavadetscher, or you can call me on my cell at 312-543-4834. We have an amazing team of Outsell associates that we can connect you with and make sure that you can be part of this great awakening, because again, Brian, it's never been a better time to be a car dealer in the United States.
Come on. Where else, other than the Brian Pash podcast, would you get the phone number of the CEO of our technology leaders? Thanks, John. Thanks, everyone who's listening in. I hope to see you in Austin, Texas. But if for some reason you can't make it in Austin, don't forget we have the Modern Retailing Conference in November in beautiful Palm Beach, Florida. That's coming up in November. So either Austin or Palm Beach or online, enjoy the future of automotive retail. It's pretty exciting. I'll talk to you next time on another podcast interview.
Great.
All right.
That was
Man,
fun.
you're
Thank
good.
you,
We're good once again. This will go out